Imagine you, immersed in a marriage that you believe is the foundation of your happiness. Your life with Emma, filled with laughter and shared moments, seems perfect. But one day, while searching for a food delivery app on the tablet you both use, you come across the unimaginable, Tinder installed with several pending notifications. From that moment on, your life takes an unexpected turn, revealing truths that were hidden right under your nose. What would you do if you discovered that the person you love the most in the world is seeking connections outside of your marriage? And furthermore, how would you react upon learning that this betrayal involves a childhood friend? Josh, our protagonist, finds himself faced with these questions and embarks on a journey of pain, discovery, and difficult decisions. His story leads us to question the limits of love, forgiveness, and what we are willing to accept in the name of happiness. Josh had always considered his marriage to Emma as the cornerstone of his happiness. Living in a modest house, decorated with memories of travels and happy moments, they seemed to have everything to be the perfect couple in the eyes of any observer. Emma, with her easy laugh and talent for art, brought color to Josh's world. A software developer who found his form of expression in logic and code. They complemented each other, balancing pragmatism and creativity. The daily routine was a well-choreographed dance of small rituals and shared habits. Josh would wake up first, prepare the coffee, while Emma stretched in bed, snuggling between the sheets for a few more minutes. They would discuss plans for the day, exchange goodbye kisses, and make promises of a pleasant evening together after work. The evenings were reserved for candlelit dinners, movie sessions on the sofa, or simply casual conversations about everything and nothing. Life seemed to flow in a serene and predictable rhythm, full of love and companionship. Everything changed that Wednesday afternoon when Josh, searching for a food delivery app on the shared tablet, found something unexpected. Tinder, with a series of notifications flashing persistently. The shock was immediate, a mixture of disbelief and fear settling in his chest. He knew he should confront Emma, but part of him wanted there to be a reasonable explanation. Something that would dispel his suspicions and restore the idyllic image of their life together. The discovery of Tinder on the tablet was like a punch in the stomach for Josh. He remained paralyzed for a few seconds, staring fixedly at the illuminated screen, unable to fully process what his eyes were seeing. The notifications seemed to mock him, each one a reminder that his perfect world was beginning to crumble. With trembling hands, he opened the app, each touch on the screen a hesitant step towards the truth he so feared to discover. When confronted, Emma initially tried to evade the subject, her evasive explanations only deepening the abyss of distrust between them. "It's just for fun. Something to pass the time," she said, avoiding his gaze. But the coldness in her voice and the reluctance to offer a convincing explanation made it clear that there was more to the story than she was willing to admit. That night, the house that was once filled with laughter and animated conversations echoed a suffocating silence. Josh dined alone, his thoughts swirling in a whirlwind of emotions. He knew he needed answers, but part of him feared what those answers could reveal about the love of his life, about the woman with whom he had dreamed of building a future. Josh decided to take action. Driven by a mixture of desperation and the need to understand, he created a fake Tinder profile. His heart raced as he set up the account, a part of him still unable to believe he was taking these measures. But the need to know the truth, to confront the reality of his situation, was stronger than any hesitation. With each swipe, he felt his stomach tighten, anticipating the moment he would find Emma's profile. And there she was. Josh's heart was stabbed with the photos of Emma on the app. She appeared smiling, radiant, in a way he had not seen in a long time. Her profile description was a promise of adventures and casual encounters, an open invitation that painfully contrasted with the life they shared. Josh felt a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal as he swiped through the photos, each one revealing a side of Emma that he did not recognize or perhaps did not want to recognize. The discovery that Nathan, his childhood friend, was one of Emma's recent matches was the final blow. The messages exchanged between them revealed a level of intimacy and complicity that left little room for doubt. Josh found himself confronted not only with Emma's infidelity, but also with the betrayal of a friend, someone he had trusted and considered part of his family. Emma's proposal came as an additional shock to the already shaken Josh. Sitting in the living room, the silence between them was heavy, laden with unspoken emotions. When Emma finally spoke, her words seemed distant, as if they belonged to a completely different reality from the one Josh had known until then. "What if we tried something different? What if we included Nathan in our relationship?" she suggested, with a hesitation that revealed her own uncertainty about the idea. Josh could hardly believe what he was hearing. The suggestion of forming a triad, of deliberately sharing the woman he loved with another man, and not just any man, but a close friend, was absurd to him. He felt his mind spinning, trying to find meaning in Emma's words, trying to understand how the love of his life, his partner, could suggest such a thing. "Are you crazy? This is sick," he exploded, the anger and despair overflowing in his words. Emma retreated, hurt by Josh's reaction, but insisted that her love for him had not changed. She tried to explain that her connection with Nathan was different, that it did not diminish what she felt for Josh. But for Josh, these justifications sounded hollow, one betrayal after another. The discussion that followed was bitter, with accusations and tears, until Josh, consumed by anger and pain, declared that the marriage was over and demanded that Emma leave the house. In the days following the tumultuous discussion with Emma, Josh found himself living in a self-imposed state of isolation. The house, once full of life and warmth, now seemed like an empty cocoon, echoing his loneliness and despair. Each room, each object, served as a cruel reminder of what he had lost, of the love that had shattered under the weight of betrayal. He constantly questioned himself, reliving each moment, each decision, wondering where he had gone wrong, where he had failed to perceive the signs. Josh's decision to finally confront his feelings and reconsider Emma's proposal did not come easily. It was the result of many sleepless nights, many tears shed in silence. The pain of the betrayal still burned, but it was accompanied by an unexpected longing for Emma, for her presence, her laughter, the way she made him feel loved. Against all logic, against all resentment, the love he felt for her refused to die. A solitary beacon amidst the storm of his emotions. Josh realized that despite everything, he still wanted Emma in his life. Love, he learned, was more complex and more resilient than he had ever imagined. He picked up the phone hesitantly and typed a message to Emma, expressing his willingness to talk, to try to understand, to explore the possibility of reconciliation, no matter how unlikely it seemed. It was a step into the unknown, driven by the strength of a love that, despite the challenges, refused to be extinguished. The first meeting of the triad was organized with a mixture of hope and fear. Josh felt his stomach twist as he approached the cafe, a place chosen for its neutrality and as a public space, minimizing the intensity of what was to come. He saw Emma and Nathan sitting together, laughing at something on Nathan's phone. For a moment, he wanted to turn around and leave, escape the reality his marriage had become. But the love he felt for Emma, however wounded it may have been, propelled him forward. The conversation was strangely formal at first, as if the three were treading on eggshells, trying to navigate a minefield of unspoken emotions and expectations. Josh struggled to be present, to truly listen to what was being said, but every laugh, every casual touch between Emma and Nathan was a painful reminder of his own pain and insecurity. He felt out of place, an observer in his own life, forced to confront the reality that his marriage, as he had known it, had irreversibly changed. Despite Emma's attempts to include him in the conversation, to reaffirm her love and commitment to him, Josh could not overcome the barrier of resentment and jealousy. The meeting made it clear that the path ahead would be more difficult than he had imagined. The journey home was marked by a heavy silence, a space filled with everything that was left unsaid, all the emotions that fought for space between them. Josh's solitary reflection in the days that followed was an arduous journey through his own insecurities and fears. He faced the difficult truth that his heart still belonged to Emma, despite the betrayal and pain that this truth entailed. However, the idea of accepting Nathan into their lives, of sharing Emma in such an intimate way, was a concept that Josh found impossible to digest. The cafe night had exposed deep wounds, not only in the trust he had placed in Emma, but also in his own self-esteem and his concept of love and loyalty. Each day brought a roller coaster of emotions. Moments of clarity and resolution were quickly overshadowed by waves of doubt and resentment. Josh found himself lost in a labyrinth of what if, pondering endless possibilities and outcomes that his decision could generate. The internal battle was exhausting, often leaving him drained and hopeless. Despite this, a small flame of optimism began to burn within him. The memory of the happy moments with Emma, of the small joys they had shared and the dreams they had built together, served as a painful reminder of what was at stake. It was this memory, this unwavering connection with Emma, that eventually guided him to a decision. Josh recognized that to try to save the love he had for Emma, he would have to explore uncharted territory, accepting the possibility of a future he had never imagined for himself. After much deliberation, Josh finally made the painful decision to try to accept the situation. The resolution did not come from an epiphany, but from a series of moments of introspection where he pondered the meaning of love, forgiveness, and happiness. Emma, perceiving the magnitude of the sacrifice Josh was willing to make, promised him that it would be worth it, that together they would find a way to make it work, to rebuild what had been broken. They began to establish rules, to have difficult conversations about boundaries and expectations, trying to build a foundation on which they could sustain this new and unusual dynamic. For Josh, each conversation was a reminder of his current reality, a stark contrast to the simplicity of his previous relationship. However, he clung to the hope that, through dialogue and joint effort, they could find a way forward that respected the feelings and needs of all involved. The process was anything but easy. There were days when Josh felt he was making progress, moments when he caught a glimpse of a possible future happiness. But these moments were often followed by relapses of doubt and sadness, reminding him of the concessions he was making. Still, Emma's determination to make things work, her willingness to show Josh that her love for him had not diminished, offered him a tenuous comfort, a reason to keep trying. As time passed, Josh, Emma, and Nathan began to find a rhythm that worked for them, although it was not always easy or comfortable. Josh discovered that with open and honest communication, he could express his concerns and insecurities, which were met with empathy and understanding by Emma and Nathan. They established moments to be together, as well as separate moments, allowing each one to have their own space and time to process this new relationship configuration. Josh noticed a gradual change in his own perception of this shared reality. There were days when he found himself laughing with Emma and Nathan, participating in activities he had never imagined doing alongside the man his wife had betrayed him with. In those moments, the pain and resentment seemed to fade, giving way to something new and unexpected, a form of contentment perhaps, or a glimpse of a new happiness. However, Josh's internal journey was far from linear. Each step forward was often followed by 2 steps back, when the reality of his arrangement hit him with renewed force. The lonely nights when he found himself thinking about how his life had taken such a turn were particularly difficult. In those hours, he questioned whether his love for Emma was enough to overcome all the barriers they now faced together. Josh's decision to try to live in a triad was marked by a deep internal contradiction. Outwardly, he displayed a facade of acceptance, striving to adapt to the new reality Emma had proposed, driven by the deep love he felt for her. However, inside, Josh was in constant turmoil, tormented by feelings of betrayal, jealousy, and above all, regret. Whenever he witnessed the intimacy between Emma and Nathan, a part of him broke even more, a painful reminder of the life he had chosen in the hope of preserving his love for Emma. Over time, this internal conflict began to weigh heavily on Josh, overshadowing the brief moments of happiness or acceptance he occasionally experienced. He found himself frequently questioning his own identity, his worth, and the true meaning of love. The reality of seeing the woman he loved engaging in relations with another man in his presence became a constant source of pain and anguish. A wound that never truly healed, regardless of how many times he tried to convince himself otherwise. Josh realized, with ever-increasing clarity, that despite his love for Emma and his genuine efforts to accept this new dynamic, he had never truly accepted living in a triad. The regret of having agreed to such an arrangement began to consume him, a persistent shadow that accompanied him in every moment of apparent normalcy. This regret not only eroded his happiness, but also threatened his very sense of identity and self-esteem. Josh's journey, though permeated by acts of love and sacrifice, became a silent testament to the limits of the human heart and the complexity of romantic relationships. He learned, in the harshest way possible, that love, no matter how powerful, is not always enough to overcome the internal barriers that each individual carries within them. Josh continued to struggle with his feelings of regret and the reality of his situation, a constant internal battle that challenged his ability to find peace amidst the turmoil of his choices. As the months passed, the reality of his situation became increasingly unbearable for Josh. The weight of the regret and emotional pain he carried every day began to affect all aspects of his life, from his mental well-being to his interactions with friends and family. The constant presence of Nathan in his home, a living reminder of the decision he had made out of love for Emma, became a source of anguish that he could no longer ignore. Josh realized that, despite his desire to keep Emma in his life, the emotional cost of his choice was simply too high. He understood that true love should not require losing oneself in the process, and that sacrificing his own happiness and mental health was not the path to a healthy relationship. With this realization, Josh made the difficult decision to distance himself from the relationship, seeking to rediscover his own identity and rebuild his life away from the pain and regret that the triad had brought him. Josh's story shows us that while love can lead us to make great sacrifices, there are times when we must choose what is best for our own well-being. Josh's journey ends on a note of hope, the promise of a new beginning, and the understanding that sometimes letting go is the most loving act we can do for ourselves and for others. And you, what would you do in Josh's place? After discovering such a deep betrayal, would you be able to find in your heart the space to forgive and try an arrangement as unusual as a triad? Josh's story shows us the limits of love and sacrifice, leading us to question how far we are willing to go to keep someone in our lives. Even with all the love he felt for Emma, Josh discovers that some pains are too deep to be healed by love alone. His journey is a painful reminder that sometimes the greatest act of self-love can be to step away from a situation that causes us more harm than good. Share what you would do. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to keep up with more stories like this. I'll see you in a new story.